Major update. Remember the story about the student who was forced to clean up her own feces? Remember that? Put it up full blast. There has now been an arrest. We covered this on day one. Staffer has been arrested after a 6-year-old was forced to first defecate on herself, and then the story gets even wilder. In an update to a story we covered last month, an assistant principal has been arrested after a lactose-intolerant 6-year-old girl was forced to clean up feces barehanded after she was prevented from going to the restroom. A reminder of what happened. Jamisha Augustine, the Louisiana mother, was outraged after her lactose-intolerant 6-year-old child was forced to clean up her own excrement after the school gave her milk. They were not supposed to. It was on file. Do not do this. The mother says she filled out all of the necessary forms, accompanied by notes from her daughter's doctor, alerting school officials that her 6-year-old suffered from a milk allergy. But earlier this week, the mother's daughter was given milk for breakfast at Rollins Place Elementary School. She went to the bathroom multiple times before her teacher eventually stopped letting her go, with messy consequences, according to television station WSAZ3. Quote, she asked her teacher to go to the restroom, but she said no because she went too many times, said Augustine, who called the school's actions, quote, irresponsible, hazardous, disgraceful, and really pathetic. Eventually, the 6-year-old soiled herself and was forced to clean up the mess without any help. Quote, so upon her going to the office after having an accident, the principal told her she was too big to be having accidents on herself, the mother said. Now there's more, but I want to say this. When this story was first covered, we clearly said that the actions of the adults were criminal, in our opinion. And not only that, there's a negligence here that led to the young lady having the cause and effect scenario. And the negligence is this. She has a medical profile. Her medical profile says she is allergic to lactose. I know we utilize the terminology lactose intolerant. That's an allergy, an adverse reaction of your physiology depending on the substance that's introduced. What they decided to introduce said substance. It led to what we have before us. That is negligence. Then, when they decided to force this child barehanded to clean up this mess, that is obviously criminal, in my opinion, and many others. All right. Now there has been consequences. I'm going to read out these consequences. A Louisiana school administrator has now been arrested, on child cruelty charges after allegedly forcing the 6-year-old student to clean up her own feces after the girl accidentally soiled herself at the school. And I remember making a distinction that we can call it an accident, but the reality is it's an adverse reaction. If the child is lactose intolerant, the child is having an adverse reaction to the lactose and is doing what the child is supposed to do, go to the restroom. It was only the teacher who stopped the child from being able to go to the restroom. Kristy Scott Gilpin, 41 years of age, faces 1 felony count of cruelty to juveniles, which occurred 2 months ago at Rollins Place Elementary School in Zachary, about 16 miles north of Baton Rouge. The teacher worked as the assistant principal, okay? Although her profile on the school's website has been taken down since the incident, according to a local station, WBRZ News. The mother, Jamisha, removed her child from Rollins Place February after months of investigation. Police announced the arrest March 17th after authorities reviewed surveillance footage showing the child being forced to clean up her own waste. They watched the footage. The administrator was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail on Monday, but was released before noon after posting a $25,000 bond. The child's mother was outraged, calling the humiliating ordeal completely unacceptable, and we concur. Now, there's a semblance of justice here because the assistant principal, has been arrested. But the reality is, based on the first report, the first story that came out, there were many who were involved. There were many members of that faculty who can share blame here, beginning with whoever gave the child the milk in the first place. Also, the school teacher that decided to refuse the child access to the restroom. And then the list goes on from there. All right, we're going to keep up on this story. Wise thoughts on it?
Obviously, a breakdown on several different fronts. You mentioned giving the kid the food or the milk, the beverage that clearly these people should have been way more vigilant about this. When I went to school back in the days and we were eating school lunch, there was really no consideration for this kind of stuff. Lactose intolerant, peanut allergy, irritable bowel syndrome. Like, there was really none of that consideration. These days, people are supposed to be just way more hyper vigilant about this. This is something that comes with the training for teachers and administrators when they're dealing with young people. Like, this is just obvious negligence on their part. And to then, compound this by utterly embarrassing and abusing this kid and putting them through this horrible ordeal where you don't let them go to the bathroom when they ask you. And now you're pretending it's their fault, like they did it on purpose. Just a breakdown of epic proportions. I would hope not just this teacher gets dealt with, but the many people who didn't intervene on behalf of this young person, vulnerable person. Our most vulnerable people in the society are young children who we're tasked with, lifting up and taking care of. And these folks decided to go ahead and do the opposite.
Yeah, and continue to double down on it after they realize what happened. We will bring you updates, as I said.